I want to take a little bit of time here and explain to you what is a path of construction, because this is a key deliverable that tends to be forgotten in the way we, advanced work packaging is being taught and written about into the industry. This is a key deliverable. And as a matter of fact, the owners we've worked with and also contractors we've worked with, even discipline contractors, as a matter of fact, they added this path of construction as a deliverable even to the required deliverables at the, let's say, the approval gates or at your own internal assurance gates. And this path of construction documents, literally looking at it, will tell you whether the project is going to be predictable or not. And so I mentioned this earlier, the path of construction is actually that deliverable that comes with the visual representation of your areas or of your breakdown that underlines basically your logic of construction, and that connects engineering and procurement and operations and the various constraints into your construction plan. So the timing for this deliverable to be defined early on is actually in FEED. Now, if you are, let's say, a discipline contractor or an EPC contractor and you got on board after the FEED package was complete, is it late? Well, it's not late as long as you have not started detailed engineering. So it's a good opportunity to align, the EPC work with the FEED work or the definition work or the early work in that award stage or prior to award. As a matter of fact, in the bidding stage, that's a good opportunity to actually come up with a path of construction. Although it's late, it may take a lot of time, but it is worth doing. It's because it's just an investment. So here's just a visual of, a component of the path of construction and its breakdown of areas where you literally take your plot plan and you divide in those areas, taking into consideration your logic of construction and even the order and the sequence of installation. Now, I really wanted to insist on who gets involved into the path of construction development. Well, definitely the project team. I would like to mention that actually business gets involved into the path of construction. And I'll emphasize this because your project sponsor generally tend to, obviously part of his major role is identifying trade-offs, cost and schedule trade-offs, especially the major ones. Well, in building your path of construction, sometimes you may have a very good idea into, that would save time, but you know what, it costs more. Well, the project is actually is limited to a certain budget and, is cost driven rather than being schedule driven. And so, well, that discussion, that alignment has to happen. Should we go for it or not? Definitely engineering needs to be involved. As a matter of fact, engineering as a, in helping construction and the construction lead into that path of construction development, they are a major component and stakeholder into this. Procurement as well, they provide input and they take the output of the path of construction and translate it to their own procurement sequencing. And then finally, especially if you're doing work on a site, let's say, revamp work, site-based work, you definitely need the final input and alignment with the process, commissioning and operations people to ensure that you're actually doing the right thing. And this involves work that is either done entirely interfacing with turnaround, but also non-turnaround work. So please do not make that distinction. Especially on site-based projects, get operations to review your path of construction as well. So I would like to mention that the quality of the path of construction is an indicator of the likelihood of success of your project in terms of predictability of outcomes. Now, how do you get started with advanced work packaging? I wanted to share this research with you, which was published by CII about the various journeys on advanced work packaging. And I would like to emphasize this because through through Concord's work, helping clients pilot and start an advanced work packaging implementation, it is a journey. This is not a tool that you procure and buy and now we're advanced work packaging compliant or now we're doing AWP. And I would like to actually mention for especially contractors that tend to be involved in any bidding where, let's say, qualification questions are asked about advanced work packaging, it's really not a good idea to say you're doing it when you're not doing it. because more and more owners are mature about this, and they can identify when somebody's actually mature or not in AWP. The right way of approaching this is looking at it as a journey, identifying your gaps, and defining a plan to get you to the best practice on some of the key components, and then showing that there is the willingness actually, and the leadership and the motivation and the resources to get to that predictable outcome. And through that transformation, there is nothing better than a win-win situation, right? Where people are working collaboratively on a construction project, independently of the contracting strategy, to achieve success. I actually mentioned this times ago. I'm a soccer fan, but I tend to say if your team loses, doesn't matter if you were a good player or you had great moves. We lost. And so it's the same thing for project. If engineering does well, doesn't matter if the project ended up being a mess. What we care about is success, and everybody will take the credit. And I added this information here for people to actually know about some of the metrics, because that's a recurrent and frequent question about what to expect. Please know that these are indicative. So every company is different. I've seen companies that from the very first implementation, they really make the project on time. But I've seen also projects where they're slightly in delay, but it is definitely a learning process.